Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second episode where I shoot and bring on people from the psychological backgrounds, be it a student, practitioner, teacher, or a professor. And these guys, they bring on to you some information that can help us understand very much better. So, the today's topic is child psychology, and for this, I invited a very special guest, and I'm very privileged and honored to have her. Her name is Miss Niyati Sanghavi. Miss Niyati Sanghavi, she is a proprietor, counseling psychologist, and a remedial educator at the Sunshine Counseling Center. She is also a part time lecturer in the Sophia College, Mumbai. This podcast was done in association with the Krsh Welfare Foundation. They are based in South Delhi, India. This organization comes up with community driven solutions for mental health problems. It trains its volunteers to provide mental health counseling at accessible and affordable rates so that any person across the globe can afford them. Now, without wasting any more further time, let's get started. Hello, ma'am, and welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being with us. So, our very first question is, what is child psychology?
Okay. So when we're talking about child psychology, we need to understand that just by going by the term, right? Child and psychology, this does simply not talk about a mental health. Okay, in terms of children,
Okay.
we are looking at children from the prenatal age, that is during pregnancy, till their adolescence. We're looking at not just their mental health, but their emotional, cognitive health, and the physical health as well. We're even taking their social background, social health, all into consideration. Because somewhere each and every part of it affects the child, right from the time of their the time of their prenatal state, that is their mom's pregnancy, till the adolescence age.
Okay. And why is child psychology important?
So basically, when we're talking about different development areas also, right? Like I said, it's not just one particular area that we are focusing on. We're focusing on the emotional, social, cognitive health, right? So in this case, it becomes much more imperative or much more important for parents to understand that what is happening with their child. Often parents might just misunderstand or mislead or kind of just misjudge the situation. Many a times when you're talking about issues, for an example, if you're talking about a child not performing well in school or refusing to read and write, right? So in those instances, parents might just misjudge it as being an something related to their behavioral issues, them being naughty or them being lazy. But it may not always be the case. It could be some deeper issues like learning difficulties or other psychological disorders, right? Like ADHD or ADD, which is influencing their patterns. So in this case, for parents to understand, get to know their child better, also to create good relationship with their child, it becomes much more important to have a focus on child psychology.
Okay, ma'am. And as we see that the whole child population, it is not the same. Someone is a normal child, someone is disabled, physically disabled, then there are people with ADH. And how do you treat all of these populations? Like
Right.
everyone, especially, has a different way to treat. How do you deal with them?
So when we're talking about treatment for children, so we need to understand first of all there are many different criteria that we need to take into consideration. The primary criteria being the age. You cannot use the same therapy or model that you're gonna use with an adolescent child as compared to with a 3-year-old or 4-year-old child. Okay. Again, in this case, the comorbidities. What are the different issues that they are going through? Is it purely behavioral? Is it behavioral plus academic? It is behavioral plus emotional. Where the primary concern is coming from. Understanding that is important. So based on that, you decide on the therapy model. Plus, you need to see whether the family is supportive or not, whether the teachers are supportive or not, or whether the environment is conducive or not, right? For a child, or let's say who's coming from a single parent home,
Yes.
The therapy model will be much more different because you need to take
Okay.
into consideration the implications that is going to have on the child's emotional health as compared to a child coming from a very healthy family or compared to a very abusive family, right? So for younger children, it's sometimes it's easier to get through them via drawings because they technically are still not very well versed with the language. They're still learning. So for them to voice out their concerns, it might get difficult. So play therapy or art therapy, alternate therapy models is something that can help over there. But when we're talking about adolescents, right, or school going children in terms of age group, let's say 8 to 10, right, for them the method could still be play therapy or art therapy, but the level will be different. Over there you can still go ahead with talk therapy for them using models like CBT or behavioral therapy in association with family therapy, where we are taking parents and family into consideration as well. So each case is very different. Each person will have to be taken and treated very differently.
I always thought till date that child psychology means only for the child. It never meant for the family from which background that person came or that's a very new information. And people like in India, we live majorly in a joint family, and we have like big Indian fat families, and that I guess affects a lot of us in some or the other ways. In any function, if we go, like people of in their 30s who are unmarried, they are always said shadi kab karoge,
Definitely.
and if they're married bachcha kab karoge. That's
Yeah,
also constant pressure, I guess. And even people of my age, they're like, और अब बस कॉलेज खत्म फिर what आगे क्या क्या सोचा
what
है.
next? Definitely.
It becomes a lot of pressure.
Exactly. So when we're talking, like you said, for people in the age of 25 to 30, or let's take as young as 20 to 30, right? There are a lot of
Mm.
concerns that they go through, especially family plays a very important role. When we're dealing with a child, first thing that everyone needs to remember is that a child is highly influenced by what they see around them, right?
Okay.
They learn by observation. So you'll always see, if a child will try to mimic their parents, do what the
Yes.
parents are doing. So in this case, it's not just what is going on inside their mind, the cognitive processes, but what they're
Mm.
observing, learning in the environment. So in that case, if they're coming from a different socio-economic background where the primary facilities are not available to them, right? They will observe those environment and learn from that. Plus, how their parents are behaving in that situation. Are the parents, someone who is into substance abuse? That will have a different implication on the child. Whereas if someone who has, very aggressive parent, the child
Mm.
will learn those behaviors. So family is
Okay.
one of the very important factors, in fact, when we're talking about, development for a child.
With the introduction of social media at such a fast rate, like reels have come, Instagram reels, YouTube shorts, the the report says that the mental health of a child, the development, actually stops. So does it impact the child's psychology also, like when they grow up to a age?
Definitely. So, like you said, reels and social media is something that is coming up a lot more now. Right? You will
Yeah.
find children as young as 12 or 13 moving on to social media, right? More so, I would not say that their development stops over there, right? Per se, because they're getting exposed to many different avenues, right? It's not just their local environment that is affecting them anymore. It's a global environment that is going to affect them. Okay. Also, in collaboration with this, when you're talking about the effects on their psyche, right? They see something online. If it attracts them, they try to mimic it, right? So you will
Okay.
see a lot of children following the same drill band. They will want to do the same dance forms. Now, in this instance, let's say if they're met with some sort of trolls online, right? That or negative comments,
Yeah.
they will start that is a big comparison point. If the peers are not getting the same sort of comments online, if it's positive
Okay.
also, still it's impacting them, because it somewhere makes them feel that it just they can push their boundaries beyond this, right? Somewhere this gets them to do much more intense things, or much more different or unique concepts, right? If they are met with in that term also, positive influence is not always the best thing, right? Even though it's positive, it may push into a different direction if it's not taken in that way. For children, for them to be able to perceive it as positive and not as a challenge is very different thing. So definitely it's going to affect their psyche in a way that it can push them into either of the directions, unless a right guidance is not given to them.
And I guess you are a child psychologist yourself. So, what do you think that the challenges a child psychologist faces?
Okay, so I don't generalize, or I don't identify as a child psychologist, right? I'm a counselor, I'm a therapist. I deal with multiple age groups. Okay, so my forte is not just children, but definitely I've worked with a lot of children, right? I've worked as a school counselor, so that's where my expertise come in this area as well. So the concerns or the issues that we face as a psychologist dealing with children is, first of all, the stigma that's associated with it, right? Let's say if you're the parent, they come to you and you try to tell them that okay, your child is having certain difficulty, could be academically, could be behavior wise, could be emotional health wise. For them to accept it, it's one of the biggest things. Beyond that, to implement techniques that are discussed in the therapy, it becomes difficult, because what will the family say, right? Or if someone comes to know that the child is going to a psychologist or a counselor, log kya kahenge, right?
Huh.
That stops them in the first stage itself. Now, in spite of everything, they still come to the therapy. Okay, therapy is not just working on the child itself. Parents have to work equally hard, because they have to provide an environment conducive of change for a child, just to change their behavior, right? Let's say if you're working on a particular behavior as aggression, for the child to be able to change that, the parents also have to provide environment where they are understanding, supportive, helping them find a different alternate ways to express their emotions. Now, in this instance, if parent does not take that initiative to work on themselves and the environment, it hampers the therapy process. More than that, when we are talking about socioeconomic factors as well, right? Therapy is expensive. Uh, Also, when we're talking about alternate methods, also like add-ons to the therapy that the parents might have to follow up at home, those are expensive as well. Sorry, it's not cheap to get different sort of equipments, toys, or things to help the child. So the parents stop over there themselves, and they're like, why are we gonna spend so much? In certain instances, when there's a genetic predisposition, and what I mean by that is, certain times the genes are responsible for how you behave, or what your personality trait is about, or what your intelligence is about, you know uh, your skills also, somewhere you have a predisposition to certain illnesses or disorders in that way. In those cases, when you have a family history of genetic disorders, it becomes difficult to help or facilitate that change for the child. So somewhere their limitations are being met. So therapy becomes much more longer process than the process that parents would like.
Correct. And what is the right time for a child to consult a psychologist?
Okay, so let's say you there's no particular right or wrong time over here. Now I would just like to say that is when a child is facing difficulty, right? Could
Okay.
be as young as a child who is, let's say, 3 or 4, right? And parents want to seek help
Mm.
because their developmental milestones are delayed. So, like their walking or
Oh,
the speech patterns are delayed, right? So,
yes.
it could be as young as that, or it could be as later as when the child is already 12, 13, you know,
Yeah.
pre
Okay.
puberty or in the puberty, adolescence, teenage stage,
Hmm.
right? So, anytime that they are facing certain difficulty, the parent feels that, somewhere they are not able to understand their child, somewhere the child is not able
Yes.
to communicate well, right? Or
Yes.
there is this gap or change in behavior. Could be simply like because they have changed schools, or onset of issues like, they might come to know later on, as the studies get difficult, that the child has learning difficulties. Could be
Hmm.
multiple or either one of the learning difficulty. So at any stage that a parent feels that their child can be helped by their extra support, it's the right time for the parent to come with their child to a child psychologist.
Okay. All right. And when a child is like up to 10 years old, he is majorly influenced by the family he lives in or the house he lives in. But once he starts hitting the puberty, like 14 or 15 years of age, when he's almost about to end school, his peer circle, his friends play also a very crucial role. And on this, we have no control, literally no control, because I can't tell someone to the way I want them to behave. I
Hmm.
can't control their behavior. So, in such a case, what are the precautions that a person could take?
Okay. So, somewhere the patterns have to be set early on. Okay. The basic understanding of right and wrong, right? When we're talking about your social skills, your social health, your emotional health, understanding emotions, first of all, uh, how can you express them, right? Understanding social cues, what is right, what is wrong, the moral values that we talk about, all this are set very early on. It's not like they cannot be relearned later on, but the base starts very early on in the life. So when we're talking about family as an influence, right, we also behave how or what based on what we were taught in our childhood, right?
Hmm.
Let's say certain things are right, certain things are wrong. You should not do this or you should do that. Now, as they start moving out in terms of going to school, right, with their hormonal change later on due to puberty, okay, it becomes difficult for child to understand or comprehend and just follow blindly what is right and what is wrong. They may start questioning, which is a good thing. That's where parents have to make sure that whatever they're saying, right, or whatever they're doing has certain evidence backing it up. Could be simply like, let's say, for so one of the examples that I can give you is one of my clients, a child, a teenager, started, blindly following or doing things that were available or seen online or
Okay.
their peers were doing, right? The parents' concern was a shift in personality, a shift in behavior pattern. So now the best thing at this time that a parent could have done is like a simple example, like they should drink milk or they should just oil their hair, which feel like very basic things for a parent. That this is common sense, general knowledge. But for a child, it may not feel so. Applying oil may be, getting them labeled as being champu or like
Yes.
that bhaiji, benji types of people. Child
Uh,
does not take those criticisms or words, right? In this
hmm.
instance, parent has to explain it to the child that applying oil is not because it's a ritual, but it has many different benefits. If you're applying oil to your hair, it has different benefits for your hair structure, quality, your hair growth later on in the life, right? So provide them with some sort of evidence. Let them think over it. Let them reason it out. Okay,
Okay.
that will give them an idea and also power to choose what they want to do and what not. And
So,
again, you can always not be too cautious about what is going to happen, what the child will go through. Somewhere the learning experience has to come into the place, right? In this instance, the teacher also play a superhuman role. Let the child
Okay.
through their experiences, but at the same time, don't be a person who puts down the child later on. Let's see, I told you so. You were not supposed to do that. The child will never explore ahead. Okay, this has happened. This has gone wrong. I'm there to help you, support you through this. What do you need to do next? What do you want to do next? What do you want me to do next for you? Be available for you. That's how they can also be open about their experiences. If they're doing something wrong, also they don't feel the fear that, oh, my parents are gonna come and shout me, or they're not never gonna listen to
Yes.
me. That's where the change will help.
And as we see, like after clearing out 10th or 12th standard, kids, especially boys, they move out of their city in the name of college actually to study, but they actually want that freedom away from home. And these guys, they make home away from home and they get attached to the place that they're living. I guess that's a bit, controversial, of course. Is from the child side, it's of course freedom, be freedom. From the parent side, it's like, okay, you are detaching from us, and but still that attachment will remain.
Right.
So, like, yeah,
So see, basically, when we're talking about children moving out of family, right? Let's say if for higher education or for work later on also. First thing is that they need that autonomy. Unfortunately, and this may again be a bit controversial of to put it this way, but when we're talking about our society, right? There's this belief that you have to follow a certain trend that is set in the household. There's nothing
correct.
wrong with that, right? But where are you giving a child the opportunity to learn or to grow?
Hmm.
Generations and generations wise, you see the same sort of behavior is being followed. There's no change in that behavior. Now, with technology being so advanced that they are able to tap into even the smallest corner of the world, learning from new
Yeah.
experiences. That's where the need for that freedom comes up. That I agree we are following these things, but why can't we do something else? That's
Hmm.
our child will come. And they want to explore that and move out. Again, it's not always to detach from the family. In fact, people who move out have the strongest family connections, right? Because it's the temporary phase that they're moving out to have enjoy the autonomy and enjoy the freedom, enjoy their decision making power that they get once they're moving out. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's where the family connections get even stronger because
Okay.
you're meeting them on a daily basis, right?
Hmm.
It's like the importance then sets in that being with family, being with parents, how it is. You have the
Yeah.
autonomy, but then at the end of the day, you need someone to fall back on as well after
Hmm.
a stressful or a tiring day, after a stressful exam. Let's say the exam didn't go well. I need my parents. That's where the connections become stronger. They become much more important, right? So there's nothing wrong with this. Children moving out to explore as long as they know that okay, like you said, the parents say that or feel that you're getting detached from us,
Hmm.
but it's on, I'll say, parents also how well they're trying to get connected with their child.
Okay.
It's not about nagging continuously that where are you, where are you, where are you, what are you doing, this and
Ah.
that. But at the end of the day, at least going and asking your child, is everything all right? How did their day go? A small
Hmm.
step from their side will also help keep that attachment or the bond intact while giving the child what they want. It's a win-win for both of them, in fact.
I have never moved out or never moved away from my family, and so I just don't have literally an experience for this. This is something that I saw in my school, college with my friends, and that was what I was saying. Okay, so the childhood gets over like 14 or 15 years, and then we hit puberty. Then they become man or woman, and then ahead the responsibilities keep going and going and going.
Right,
There comes an age like 50 where you are retired, and you have to just relax and stuff. I've seen people in my family also, after they got retired, they are very restless. They recall their memory and they think, shit, why did I do this?
right,
Why did I do that? And I guess there's a playback back in their mind. Okay, like in my childhood, if I had done something like this, then this wouldn't play an impact on us. This shows that our childhood has a very impact all over our life. And
definitely.
hmm,
So when you said that, our childhood is gonna impact us throughout our lifespan, okay, that's completely correct, right? Now the thing is, our belief system is set in our childhood.
okay.
We are taught something, we have learned something. Based on that, unless and until we have a chance to explore or to change those belief systems, we are gonna follow through that throughout our lifespan. Okay. Now, when we are coming to a stage where there's nothing more for us to explore, right? We
Yes.
start thinking back on what we could have done differently. Could be
Hmm.
as simple as maybe let's say if I would have taken a different career choice, my life would
Yeah.
have been much more exciting. It would have been much more different, right? Or if I would
Hmm.
have taken a different stream in college, it would have been much more
Hmm.
different. Or my parents would have allowed me to go here, I would have been a different person. Do that, I would be a different person. So when we are talking about the impact that comes later on, right? It's not just because of the missed opportunities that we had in our life, not just because of your childhood experiences as well, but it's because of the transition with somewhere didn't go as we wanted it to, right?
Okay.
Now, in this instance, let's say if you're coming from a family environment or background, where your parents have been very supportive of your choices.
Hmm.
You had the free will to do whatever you wanted to do, right? Explore
Yes.
whichever career stream, change careers later on, and if you want to, go and do whatever job you wanted to do, right?
Hmm.
In this instance, the falling back or thinking upon, I could have done this differently in my childhood or in my early
Hmm.
years will be much more lesser because you
Okay.
are getting that opportunity. Also, you are
Hmm.
able to have the transition
Hmm.
with right set of resources, which is very important. Many times when people are transitioning from one stage of life to the other, okay, let's say when we're talking about from young adulthood to adulthood and to old age, right, to retirement
Hmm.
age, the transition is
Yes.
very sudden for them. It's like one stage, one day I am a young adult or I'm a teenager, I've
Okay.
just started off in life, and the next day I have to take on this responsibility. I have to be the mature
Yeah.
person. Then I have to take up
Yes.
another responsibility, and I have to be a parent. I myself have
Hmm.
not dealt with what I wanted to deal with in my life.
Yes.
I got into this role very soon, or I had to get into a job and be very secure for my family. So
Hmm.
I had no other option to explore anything. So the transition didn't happen over there.
Hmm.
That's where this falling back happens. That's where the impact of childhood becomes even more important over there, because they'll be like, I wanted to do this, I could not.
Yes. And as children, I guess it's very important for us also to forgive our parents sometimes. Because as being the elder siblings and, any single child or any child, it's not that our parents are always gonna be right. Even they try our best to give us the best of lives that they could, but sometimes they lag behind us. They like, sometimes even they have situations they can't tell us. It's
Correct.
very important for us to also forgive them ki chalo okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
But
So when we're talking about forgiveness on part of children also, see, like I said, they learn from what they have observed, right?
yes.
Now somewhere if they hear their parents always complaining about their grandparents,
Hmm.
you know, you should be grateful. My father was so strict. I am not so strict at all, right? I
Yeah.
gave you whatever you wanted, but that may not be the need of the child.
Yeah.
Having everything on the platter would not be the need of the child. Having the right, or everything very expensive in front of them. That's not what the child needs. They want affection,
Okay.
right? Now, over here, in this instance, if the father would have, you know, forgiven or let go of what they had gone through, try to
Hmm.
understand their own pattern, right? And then come to the child and
Yeah.
shower them with what they need. That
Okay.
process will be different. Now, what happens in this instance is, uh, that understanding that you need to let go of certain things, you need to forgive and move on from certain things, move ahead of that ideology, right? It becomes
Hmm.
difficult for the children because they've never seen how to do that.
Yes.
For them to be able to let go or move on or forgive smaller mistakes of their parents, right? They first need to see that themselves. If a child is being reprimanded on each and every tiny error,
Hmm.
they won't learn, uh, you know, how to just let go of it. So what they're
Yes.
gonna think is that if I was being punished even for making a small error in a simple word,
Hmm.
how can I forgive my parent when they have made such a big error on their part?
Yes.
I'm not blaming the child or a parent over here. It's just a
Hmm.
gap that has to be met somewhere. Now, children will not have that understanding. That's why parents' role gets much more difficult. That how do you make a child or a teenager who's already going through so much, going through a lot of
Yes.
hormonal changes, emotional changes, mental changes, physical changes, right? Who's continuously faced with so many things in the surrounding. How are they gonna cope up on their own without right set of role model in front of them?
Hmm.
So parents have to understand that they have to follow that role model themselves, right?
Right.
In that case,
Yes. Like, there's this trend, okay, and I guess there's nothing wrong with it. The parents, both the couple, they are working, okay, and the child is left behind at the home, either with their daddies, nani, or a daycare nanny. So that also, I guess, impacts the child, that okay, my mother and father, they both go to work at respective places, and at night they come ahead. But some parents, after they come ahead, they don't even look after the child. They are so tired and exhausted, and they just can't, even if they want to, they just can't look after their child. So the child somewhere feels like, why are they behaving like this way? It
definitely,
also comes a very like, okay, emotionally unavailable, that okay, these are not just my parents, they are here to just feed me and just give me money and stuff. I'm not, there is no emotional connect between them.
definitely. So see, in this cases, there's nothing wrong with the parents working, right? And
Hmm.
I understand that because of current economy, it gets much more difficult for one partner to earn and survive, right? Or
Yes.
provide for the entire family. Both the partners have to be working. The only thing is, even if they're tired at the end of the day, right? And that's
Hmm.
where it becomes a learning process for them, that them being tired and not being able to give time to themselves first and then the children first, right? So
Yes.
they need to learn how to de-stress themselves.
Okay.
This is not for the benefit of the child, but for their own physical and mental health benefit later on. If they always want to be
Yes.
preoccupied with something, the stressor of it, it's going to affect their emotional mental health. So first, to de-stress themselves. Once
Hmm.
they've done that, communicate with the child, not in a way that I'm doing this for you only.
Hmm.
The child will say, I don't need this. I didn't tell you to do this for me. What I need is
Hmm.
ABC, and you are not giving that to me.
Yes.
But explain it to them that,
Hmm.
see, choice to work is definitely my own. Financially, somewhere I'm not able to meet your needs as a child, but we can always try out alternatives.
Hmm.
For them, that support. You don't have to be there 24/7 for them. Nowadays,
Of
children
course.
don't need the parent who's on their head 24/7,
Ah.
but they need a parent to be available when they are going through something. And as long as the parent is available, be it even for 10-15 minutes a day, I think the child will be able to grasp and understand the consequences. Because this is somewhere that they're seeing everyone go through. Yeah?
Hmm. So, between a child and a parent, the communication gap only they can fill it perfectly between themselves, like from both the ends. Of course, the child won't make that much effort. The parents have to make a little bit extra effort to that and these guys they have to maintain, right?
Yeah. So, see, again, the parent knows their child the best, right? As a counselor, as a psychologist, I may help provide the input. I may help them with understanding or identifying different patterns, right? Or different things that they can try out. I can provide them with a list of things that, that might help or that can work out for them. But at the end of the day, knowing what will work best with their child is what they have to decide. Again, therapy is not something like I'm giving you ABC things, you have to do this ABC things. No. As a individual also, it's you who decides what you want to do. You make the choice. Once you have made the choice, then we help with going about the process. So, if a parent says that I want to build a better relationship with my child, okay, you can try certain activities like this that might help. But my child does not like this. Okay, this is a different set of activities that might help. You can, this is a resource tool. You can select which you think will be best suited for you and your child. In those instances where child is not able to communicate also sometimes with their parents because they don't have the right set of words, that's where
Yeah.
understanding what the child is wanting to say, right, and being that link between the child and a parent,
Mm.
because it could be due to generational gap, generational difference, right, so they
Correct.
are not able to communicate or get to each other. That's why we step in to bridge that gap.
All right. And so I guess, yeah, there are many thoughts and topics to elaborate in this particular topic only. But I guess we will take a rest over here. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining in. Thank you to all the people to viewing this.
Thank you
It
so
was
much.
great talking to you, ma'am.